Bets are off. I'm gonna find my way tonight.
Hey everybody, give me 1 second.
Talk to me. I wanna hear your sorrows. To me, we'll make a new tomorrow.
All right, guys, what is happening? Let me kill this music I was listening to. So, there was an interesting article posted this week talking about how people out flying during the pandemic are irresponsible. And so what I'd like to do is read the article to you. There's a link down in the description below if you wanted to read along. Happy to have you join me. So the title of this this article is, Has General Aviation Just Shot Itself in the Foot? And it starts out with a photograph, and I'll just show you on my laptop here since this is a low production value production. It starts out with this photo of a crashed airplane. And so the article writer, this Gary Mortimer fella, is basically using shock value, fear tactics, fear motivation to scare people into thinking that general aviation is going to infect more people with COVID-19 because we're out flying around during the pandemic, during when we're all supposed to be socially isolated. So let's dig into the article and then we'll break it down and I'll give you my responses, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump in the comments and let's have a discussion here. Should we be flying during the pandemic, or should we ground all our airplanes, huddle in our homes, and be afraid? Well, let's get into the article and find out what this person's opinion is, Mr. Gary Mortimer. And this is a publication in the SUAS News. It's a unmanned aerial vehicle, very positive for drones. And I'm actually very pro-drone. I'm very into everybody sharing the airspace. I think there's a way that we can do it safely without putting anybody at risk. And there does need to be some regulation involved. But this is specifically talking about the pandemic. So the article starts out with, it says, there's an unfounded perception that drones are dangerous and going to bring down hundreds of passenger aircraft. Gatwick was shut down and chaos ensued based on zero evidence of a drone in the sky, and it was a chicken licking story from start to finish that created a narrative for regulators and CUAS folks around the world. So this is basically referring to, I don't know if you remember, but I don't know, I guess it was late last year in 2019. Somebody said they saw a drone on the approach corridor for London's Gatwick Airport, and they basically did a full ground stop, stopped all approaches and departures into and out of London, the Gatwick Airport anyway. And it turns out they never had any evidence, couldn't find out anything that was going on. So police forces involved are refusing to answer FOIA, which is Freedom of Information requests, and were due just before COVID chaos erupted to face legal action over their lack of transparency. General Aviation, and here's where this is frustrating to me, but let's go ahead and read it. General Aviation kills hundreds of people. Ah, the fear! General Aviation kills hundreds of people every year around the world. Most deaths are preventable. Pilot error is a major factor. This is in part due to attitude. Human factors are a big deal. Controlled flight into terrain, low-level operations, mid-air collisions, and fuel management are some of the most popular ways to kill friends and family. Okay, moving on. There are calls for tracking of not only drones, but their pilots as well, all transmitted in the open for anyone to see. Remote ID as we know and love it. It's obvious where the pilot of the manned aircraft is, but it's not so obvious where the aircraft might be. Very old technology, ADS-B, designed in the 90s, has been mandated for certain sorts of bits. This is where he just is trying to back up his opinion with jibber jabber. He starts to talk about the surveillance programs, like we all have to register and be tracked by the government. And this is all just, has actually no context, no validity to his point. What I think he did is he had to have a certain number of words in order to file the article. And so he just put in jibber jabber, nonsense. So I'm going to skip the jibber jabber And let's get right to it. I'm going to skip a couple of paragraphs where he's talking about how old ADSB is. It's 1990s technology. Well, everybody knows the aviation industry is about 20 years behind the times as far as technology goes. There's no way to get around that with all the regulation. So here we go. So he talks about reducing midair collisions and blah, 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 which has nothing to do with his point. Again, his point, here it is. How come we've got this far without mentioning how GA has shot itself in the foot? Well, here we go. General Aviation Facebook groups have lit up with folks continuing to fly and spouting defiance. Nobody's going to stop them. Damn these pilots. What right does anybody have? They are self-isolating in the aircraft. We demand to fly and continue to fly, and we're never going to stop flying. This guy's nuts. It's funny. Okay. Seemingly, they missed the point that an incident or an accident would use resources that could be used for the bigger ongoing COVID-19 emergency. Now, here's the only decent point he makes in the article. Yes, if there is an aviation incident, let's say myself, which I went flying yesterday. I'm still active. I still go flying. I'm not around anybody for the most part. If I did have an accident or an incident, those responders would have to respond. And that's true in everyday life. It's true during the pandemic. And so that's maybe the only valid point that what I try to do is I try to find common ground first and foremost before I begin a debate. And this one I do have common ground with. And that's the only thing that maybe would cause me to question going flying. So maybe we just be a little bit more careful to kind of take some of that risk out. How about that? How about that? See you outside. How about that? That's so funny. I would contend, here I'm continuing on with this guy writing in the article. I would contend that the keep flying is displaying 3 of the 5 human factors that are hazardous attitudes. Hey, my son's watching. That's awesome. Hey, Riley. What's up, buddy? The attitudes are anti-authority, invulnerability, and macho. These folks should have their logbooks pulled and records checked. Do they have the right attitude to operate an aircraft? He's basically asking a rhetorical question, trying to make the statement that this is a hazardous attitude, that continuing to fly during the pandemic is a hazardous attitude, which I completely don't disagree. I don't agree with at all. Completely disagree. Now here's the final paragraph, and then the hashtag is probably the icing on the cake, guys. Here we go. I have believed for a while that General Aviation will eventually be dragged into the remote ID debacle, and these flying cowboys are helping to open the door. So he's basically saying that by people going out there and going flying throughout the pandemic is going to open up a can of worms that the regulators are going to be like, oh no, we got to regulate these guys out of existence. And then he used the hashtag no GA below 2K, which is, I guess the drone guys really are advocating for that, where they want all manned aircraft above 2,000 feet and that they want the regulations changed. Point blank, they want 2,000 feet AGL in all circumstances. They want that to be the law unless you're taking off or landing. And that is something that they, especially over in Europe, that they're really, really fighting for. Now, this is something that's important to the GA community globally, but especially in the United States, where we need to know what these different organizations are advocating for. Can you imagine if the FAA all of a sudden issued an emergency directive that they're changing the regulations, they're changing the FARs to where it's now illegal to operate within 2,000 feet of the ground unless you're approaching an airport? I think what they'll probably do, if it ever got done, was they would establish a Mode C type situation. You remember back in the day there was the Mode C veil, which was 30 miles surrounding an airport? A busy airport. What they would probably do is establish these veils around all the airports and say, okay, unless you're inside of one of these veils, you have to be above 2,000 feet AGL, which basically gives anything below 2,000 feet AGL to the drone crews, which is what they want. I mean, let's just call reality reality. And that's really what this article is about. It's about two things. It's about saying everybody flying right now is irresponsible because we should be at home. We should not be going outside because pandemic. That's the major point. The second point he's trying to push home is a veiled attempt at pushing his agenda to push manned aircraft above 2,000 feet. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what they're trying to do. And there's really very little room for debate there. I mean, he's very clear in his desire. So, Gary Mortimer, here's my response. If I could do real-time blurring, I would be the... I won't do that. Go flying, guys. Just be safe. Be wise. Remote isolate. I mean, activity is activity. Just go out, be safe, have fun with your aircraft, and continue to live your life. This pandemic is as real as it gets. This is crazy. A lot of you wonder, or I don't really talk about what I do for a living. I run a software company, and we provide very necessary services to the airline industry. We provide reservation systems, dispatch, departure control, flight following operations, passenger processing technology, and the airline industry specifically, which is very, very much connected to the general aviation industry, is really hurting. My business is really hurting. And everybody being sent home from work, unless you're essential, is really hurting. I can see the argument both ways, just because reasonable, be reasonable, reason. The word reasonable is the ability to reason. Let's be reasonable. Let's think about things before we knee-jerk react. The pandemic is real. Would it suck to die of COVID-19? Yeah, it would suck. It would suck to contract it. But the fact of the matter is a lot of people are getting it. A lot of people are getting healed. Car accidents are down. COVID deaths are up. People are not driving around as much. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, but my big response is what my feeling is I can kind of see the argument where it is a risk to go out. Period. Whether you're out flying or whether you're walking in the park, whether you're driving down the road, there is risk in this world. Now, with the pandemic, the risk factors are a little bit higher. But walking down the street has risk. You don't know if a mule deer is going to come out of the woods and kick you in the head. I mean, it could happen. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go on your walk. It doesn't mean you shouldn't drive down the road. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go to the airport, get in your airplane, and go on a wonderful flight and have a great time. And that's how you're doing your social isolation. So here's my opinion. Go out and go flying. Go out and go driving. Go out with your family to the park. Try to find places where there's not a lot of other people. Stay 6 feet away. Wash your hands. Do all the things. Don't go crazy with all these fear tactics. Don't try to focus on the negativity and all the things that suck right now. And it does suck. I got a buddy, Kevin Quinn, who his entire annual livelihood comes from his helicopter skiing operation in Alaska. They got just a few weeks in and had to shut the whole thing down. It is going to bite him in the purse big time. And I feel bad for him. And I feel bad for all the people that are out there, not able to go out and have fun and live their lives and to make their money and to provide for their families. That's really the issue here, is we've got to handle this as quickly as possible and then get back to business. The way we handle it as quickly as possible is use our little tinker between our ears, use our brains, isolate yourselves from the risk, and let's handle this. Get it done. Anyway, I'm going to be live here in a little while. I'm going to do another Bound for the Backcountry story. I haven't decided which airport I'm going to highlight. Let's go to the questions. Let's have a quick Q&A and let's talk. I want to go into the comments. I can see them just flurrying, so I really appreciate you guys joining in. Do you agree with me or not? Do you think we should be out here flying? What's your opinion? Let's jump down in the comments, and I'm going to do that right now, my friends. Let's go here. I have to actually join the live feed on my laptop to make sure I'm muted, so I can do the. I don't want to use my phone to do the comments. Okay, let's scroll up. Oh, thank you, Necrosapien sent me a $25 super chat. Thanks, bro. That'll really help. You just bought some gas for my airplane. Maybe I'll go make a vlog and mention you in that vlog. Thanks. I sure appreciate that. That really touches me. My son is in the comments. It's hilarious. Yeah, my son commented that I have a beard. This is just laziness. I just haven't shaved. It's not like I'm intending to grow a beard. Whatever. It is what it is. Let me turn these settings all the way down so that I'm not hogging bandwidth. Okay. We must save aviation. Thanks, Riley. That's a good one. Somebody's commenting as me. I'm assuming that's Jason, my producer, that thanked Necrosapien in the comments. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate you getting my back. Rocky, South Florida, fight for GA rights. Let's look for some questions here. Kevin Can Fly says, public perception is a powerful thing. Okay, so here's how you can do your part. If you see crazy stuff going on, whether it's related to aviation or not, and you're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or Reddit or Instagram or wherever you spend your time online, and I know everybody's spending a lot of time online right now, be a voice of reason and don't throw fuel on fires. You don't need to be doing that. It's just insanity, and if you throw more into it, it's just going to breed more. People are legitimately afraid, and you don't know what somebody's going through or what's going on in their head. So, the best policy is to just always be consistent and be a voice of reason. Preston Rich, I agree. Flying is the best form of social distancing. Preston also says, it's definitely not worth killing the global economy. Regular flu kills a ton each year too. Definitely slow the spread, but everything we have has risk. I'm not a doctor, and I haven't really looked, to be candid, at all the statistical analysis. I'm basically relying on, people that do this for a living. World Health Organization, and the Center of Disease Control. And if they are calling this a pandemic, then I'm not in their position. Typically these types of organizations really resist the temptation to fearmonger and things like that. I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists who thinks that the government's out to get us. I think that there's some shiz going on for sure, but I think for the most part we're out here and people are trying to do the right thing. I'm not going to buy into the hysteria that everybody's we're purposefully collapsing the economy. That's just nonsense. Why would anybody do that? I don't see the positive benefit. There's already, if somebody wants to rule, they've already got all the tools they need to rule. They don't need to tear anything down in order to make that happen. So I don't necessarily buy all that kind of hype. And I'm going to just kind of yield to the pros, and let's go ahead and socially isolate, and let's just handle it. If we handle our business on our side and we isolate and we nip this thing in the bud and stop the outbreak, then it's a non-issue and we can get back to business. And that's really what we should be doing. We shouldn't be out there, dude, the Corona challenge where people were just walking around licking stuff. That's asinine. Don't be doing that. Okay. Life is a risk. Yeah, the bailout, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it. I work in the airline industry, and the airline industry supposedly going to get some bailout, but whatever. We'll see what happens. Let's scroll down and see if we keep flying. Thanks for listening. Yes, Bruce, I'd like to get into more detail. Bruce Arnott, he talked about his first flight story. I'd like to get into that in a little more detail, and so I'll be messaging you and responding to your message soon. Hooked on Utah, very cool YouTube channel. He does a lot of outdoorsy type stuff, but he's also a pilot. So if you see him in the comments, go ahead and click on his name and go sub his channel. It's a pretty cool channel. The skies over Georgia. Well, if you want to take me fishing, bro, I'll go fishing. I'm just a student, but I still need to go fly just to relieve the stress of the current situation. That's, that hit Alan Fowler, that hits home for me very, very much. Flying is an outlet for me too. At the end of the day, nobody is immune to the reality of our situation. It's confusing. It's if you really let it get you, it'll get you. It'll get you depressed. It'll get you afraid. It'll all the things, all the negative emotions. It can be daunting. So just keep your chin up. Get out there, and if you need an escape, YouTube's a great escape, Netflix, there's a lot of positive stuff. Try to choose content that enriches and enlightens your soul. And so Alan mentions that he needs to go flying to relieve some of that tension. Go for it, man. Knock yourself out. Have fun. Enjoy the freedom of flight. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And I will accept a total invitation to go flying. BB4 says, be wise, use good judgment, do the recommended things, but I refuse to let fear rule my decisions. So I'm not letting fear run my life. Just my 2 cents. Fly, fly, fly. Bravo. Couldn't have said it better if I said it myself, my friend. Bravo. We need more just like you. What happened to my first flight Fridays? To answer that question, it was Fly With Me Friday, hashtag Fly With Me Friday. I kind of lost motivation to do those because, well, it really kind of became a chore. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I was getting hundreds of requests to go flying, and sifting through those and trying to find people that are not exposed to aviation became daunting, to say the least. And I apologize, but if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. A lot of the reason I do the YouTube channel is for my own self-gratification. I hate to say that out loud. It sounds kind of like a jerky thing to say, but I really enjoy making the videos, and first and foremost, that's what I get out of it. If I was doing it for any other motivation, I think that I would have stopped doing it. If it was about money, like trying to make money, well, I'm spending money to do it. The revenue you get from YouTube doesn't even begin to cover cost of fuel, cameras, time, equipment, all the things. So I do it for fun. And so that's why Fly With Me Friday hasn't had a new episode in over a year. I might do one. I've been brainstorming with some friends about some different concepts and ideas to make it fun and to keep doing it, because I know a lot of people enjoy it. But at the same time, when I look at it, it's just, if I've lost motivation to do it, I'm just not going to do it. Don't apologize for your rants. Rants are good. That's what I'm doing right now. This is a form of therapy for me as well, and hopefully it's entertaining and you get an opinion. Click on that link in that article. I don't know. Let me go back to the article. I don't think there's a comment section. Actually, there is. There is a comment section on that article on that website. So down in the comments, or in the description of this video, there's a link where you can communicate with this publication. I don't know how many views it's got or how popular these guys are, but that's the reality of the situation. Chancellor, thank you for being a member. He has clicked the little join button down below, and he is dropping his $5 a month, and he gets access to private content. So thanks, Chancellor. I sure appreciate it. Airdropping me some toilet paper. I wish I had some toilet paper to airdrop. Everybody's buying it still. The hysteria is real. You flying cowboys almost all have a business. How are things now with Trent and Mike and the others? I think Trent, the motion picture industry is really shut down. Everything's shut down. Everybody's affected. I talked to Mike the other day, and his environmental cleanup business is shut down. Everything's shut down. Everybody's impacted. Nobody's immune. It really sucks. I have a really close buddy who's appeared in my last couple of videos. He's going to appear on the part 3 of the Green River video, Troy. He's taken a huge personal hit, and it almost brings a tear to your eye. People work so hard, and then it's just kind of taken away. It really sucks. I need to take my son fishing. He says he hasn't been fishing since he was 5, and that's true. We do a lot of other things. And yeah. Does it annoy you that Mark Patey is going to paint Scrappy the same colors as Ghost? Well, first of all, let me correct you one thing. It's Mike Patey. I know they're twins and it's confusing, but they're two different people. Just saying. Mark is Best Tugs, and he flies the Carbon Cub that's red and white with the Best Tugs logo on it. Mike built Draco and is building Scrappy. They're just two different people that look exactly and talk exactly the same. I could tell them apart. I don't know. I've never had a problem telling them apart. But the question is, am I annoyed by the color scheme choice? Heck no, bro. Mike and I are really close buddies. There's very few days that go by where we don't text or talk, and we talk like every day. Mike and I have both always loved orange, black, and silver. My Wilga had orange on it. My last 3 airplanes have all had orange on it. Man, I think it's going to be a beautiful airplane. In fact, I went and hung out with Mike yesterday, and I've seen how far he's gotten. He's in paint booth stage, and I know his videos are not caught up to that. And so I've seen some of the things that he's done. So you can get one of these hats, to answer your question, Joe, on flyingcowboys.com. Take your son fishing, dude. Okay, nope, doesn't annoy me. Let's move on. I work for Textron. Oh man, it scrolled. I worked for Textron and used to put people on the citations when I could. I always selected people who had not been on a citation before. Yeah, that's really a good point. You're probably referring to Fly With Me Friday topics. I'm a little behind. Thanks, Chancellor. You're very flattering. I work hard for you guys, and I hope you appreciate it. And I appreciate it. I enjoy the content that I put out sometimes. Sometimes I'll rewatch it and go, ooh, cringe. Oh, funny. Michael from Cape Town, South Africa. Yeah, I heard that they grounded the entire country of South Africa. No General Aviation there. That's kind of a bummer. Like Rocky, South Florida says, stay strong, be safe. This is going to pass. Have confidence. And just get out there when you are able to get back to work. Work hard. Work as if you're signing your name on every little bit that you do, like they did in the old days where people took pride in what they accomplished at their work. I really think that that's amazing. Fathers, my son is really wanting to play. He's like texting me saying, Dad, I want to play games. I'm not much of a gamer, Riley, but I will play a game with you. I'll do it. Let's do it today. The whole South Africa is under lockdown, the most beautiful flying weather, but no flying. Yeah, that sucks. I'm not going to advocate breaking any rules or regulations. That's one thing that me and my friends are really stickler about, is the safety side of things and compliance to the regulations. It's super important to fit inside the system and not paint outside the lines of the system. And I know we're all creative and we're artists and we're creating videos and we feel like we're free when we go flying, but never in a million years would I advocate doing something unsafe or illegal. That's definitely not my modus operandi. I know that some of the things that the Flying Cowboys do and some of these really awesome pilots do can be considered unsafe, but these are very skilled people that practice, and it's incremental. You don't go out and backflip your dirt bike, having never ridden a dirt bike before. You build up to it. You learn how to do your jumps. You learn how to handle your speed. You learn how to handle your momentum. You learn how to do other little tricks. You learn how to do the little whoop-de-doos before you go and do a backflip. You don't just get into a backflip. Jim Monty, I was one of the folks in North Texas to go to the 2020 Lone Star STOL competition, because it wasn't a STOL drag. We had a very good time. Hope you can come next year. And yes, waiting for Scrappy. Enjoy your content. Always honest. Okay, thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. I really wanted to go to that. My daughter had a cheer competition that weekend in Arizona, and we literally got on the airplane. We were on the Delta flight, and they canceled the event, and I don't know, there were 15 or 20 other people on the flight that were headed to that event that all got up, and we all got off the plane because the event got canceled literally moments before they were closing the cabin door. And to Delta Airlines' credit, they were fantastic. They issued us credits for a future flight. Didn't refund us, but issued us credits with no change fees or anything like that. This craziness is real. I wish I could have gone, and it kind of stings a little bit that my daughter's event was canceled. What a bummer. Get some X-Plane going. Get into flight simulators. Have fun. Let's see. What are my thoughts on ATC shutting down so they can be distant? That would be a huge problem for bigger airports, not so much for smaller airports, but Ogden would be even more nuts. It really depends. The number of flight operations is really decreased. And I know that, for example, Las Vegas Tower has been shut down for a couple of weeks now, and pilots are just self-controlling. That's one thing that's really cool about the aviation community is pilots are really pretty responsible, and we're pretty good at flying the pattern and being safe about it. There's way more pilot-controlled airports than there are controlled airports. And when I say pilot-controlled, it's the ones that are not controlled by air traffic control. The real terminology is uncontrolled airports. But I just call them pilot-controlled airports because there's control happening. We're all fitting into an airspace system. It's like a roundabout. You're all pulling into a roundabout and nobody's hitting each other. Everybody's looking out for what's going on, and it's just pilot controlled. I think there's definitely some safety considerations if there's an unusual traffic situation where it's super busy. Air traffic controllers, as far as keeping separation, is very important. But I don't think if most of the airlines are parking airplanes. And if you've been down to Kingman, Arizona or Victorville, California, you see airplanes parked all over the ramp. A lot of airplanes are parked. So we'll see what happens. Go out there, be safe, but fly confidently. If you have an airline ticket, go on your flight. Awesome. Colonel Davidson is staying strong, going through cancer skin treatment. Can't keep a World War II vet down. Good job, Colonel Davidson. We're all rooting for you, bro. Are you going to show me some easy off-airport spots when I will and bring home my Alaska Airmen's Association 180 this year? Absolutely. If you win that 180, come on, we'll show you some easy peasy spots. Be really cool. My son is giving his Roblox ID. No, dude, don't do that. I'm pretty sure you've owned the FX2 and 3, so what are your thoughts on the difference? I've never owned an FX2 or an FX3. I own an EX. I have flown the EX2 and the EX3, which are FX2. They're all the same, whether you build it yourself or you have the factory assist. My personal preference is the modifications they made to the 2 and the 3 are not for me. They're amazing aircraft. They're for other people. For example, the EX3 specifically is just a much faster airplane, but it doesn't take off and land as short. It doesn't accelerate as quickly. It's just not for me. I love my EX. I think it's the best airplane that Cubcrafters has ever come out with. But the ailerons are more traditional Cub-style ailerons. They're a little bit heavy. They fixed that with the EX2, but added a little bit of weight to do that. A little more involved in those ailerons. They're a little more aerodynamically balanced and feel lighter on the controls. Feels like you're driving with a little bit less pressure, control pressure. But it did add a little bit of weight. Didn't change anything else about the airplane really. Then the 3, they changed a lot. They changed the motor. It's a constant speed propeller. The wing and everything's the same as the 2. They made some modifications there, but and they're really responding to people that want to travel in their airplanes and go a little bit faster. They want people to be able to fly 125 miles an hour in a Cub, and that's just not me. They're all fantastic airplanes. You can still, to my knowledge, you can still buy all the airplanes that are in the fleet. So you can still buy an EX, the original, the 2, and the 3. So with that said, the EX is just my personal favorite. It's what I fly, and I haven't upgraded for very specific reasons. Number one, my airplane is tricked out. It's amazing, and I love it the way it is. And if I bought a new one, I'd have to go through all that. And I've got a couple of years of mods on my airplane. I've got it dialed in. I love my airplane. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and end this, but I'm going to answer a couple more questions off topic. But what do you feel with a tricycle gear, like a Zenith, could get in and out of most places? I actually have flown the Zenith, the 750. My close buddy Mark, which is one of the flying cowboys, has owned the 801. They're fantastic airplanes. The problem with nose gear airplanes is the structure needs to be beefed up more, and that adds a lot of weight. Nose gear airplanes typically can't take the beating that tailwheel airplanes can in the backcountry. And there's also something to be said with propeller clearance. When you have an airplane sitting horizontal on the ground in a trike configuration, it brings that nose closer to the ground, and so that propeller is closer to all the muck, the rocks, the weeds, the whatever. And in a tailwheel airplane, you have angle of attack, and it takes that propeller, and you get, even 2-3 inches of additional clearance is a big deal in the backcountry. And I really just love tailwheel airplanes. I think they fly good. They're lighter because you don't have to have all that structure on the nose gear. I'm not saying anything negative about nose wheel airplanes, but I definitely can tell you will not be able to get your 750 into some places where the big tire tailwheel airplanes can get into. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Not without some serious modification to get that propeller clearance up there, just so you're not bending and breaking props and doing the things that you don't want to be doing and costing you a lot of money and downtime and potentially being a safety hazard. You probably can get into 95% of the places, to be honest. But there are some spots, for example, if you watch, I did the Green River video, it's part 1, that sandbar, and it's the very beginning of the one I released this morning. I don't know that I would land a Zenith there or any nose wheel airplane. Just because there's some big rocks and you don't want to hit a prop on them. Yeah, that would suck. All right, joining me from Tokyo. Well, hello, Tokyo. Man, that's the coolest thing. I've noticed I've got a lot of followers. I've got some Russian followers. You've noticed my Instagram. I'm starting to put some hashtags in other foreign languages, and you'll probably see more of that. I'm going to start doing captions in multiple languages because, hey, man, I got people watching these videos, and I get people sending me. I got a guy sending me a big long letter in Cyrillic. I think it's Russian, and I haven't been able to read it yet because he sent me this care package and some treats from Russia. How cool is that? So I'm gonna start doing subtitles, captions in multiple languages to support the international people that want to see people in America do fun things with airplanes. I think that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Hope to see you in Alaska next summer. The Airman's being canceled, and Valdez looks like it's being pushed to June. It looks like I might still be able to pull off the Alaska trip. I'm still planning on it. Let's hope we can get this COVID thing out of the way. It's looking like June though. I'm planning on flying with my buddy Butch Kingston. Maybe some others will join. It just really depends. He's got a house up in Wasilla. And so he's got a new airplane he wants to move up to Alaska, and so we were gonna, be wingmen flying up to Alaska, and so that's still the plan, still coming up. And I need somebody to fly back to the lower 48 with me. So if anybody's planning on flying an airplane, especially a bush plane, down to the lower 48 in June-ish, let me know. Maybe we can link up. Yeah, cargo pilot. I mean, there's a lot of necessary services. We still have to fly airplanes. We don't necessarily have to. I guess we could truck them. But aviation's important, gets things quick. Oh, this is a fun question because this is cutting edge stuff. Brian mentions, and he asks the question, automotive engines and aviation, what are your thoughts? I love it. I am not of the purest. Now, let me contextualize this. I think that aviation engines right now, the vast majority of them are superior. But we've got these new, the Rotaxes are basically a kit or a modified sled engine. The Yamaha Epex and Apex motors are basically a sled engine. We've got a Honda motor being worked on now. I'm all for these engines being refined and adapted for use in aviation. My buddy Steve Henry is on the cutting edge of that. We got Hal Stockman in the Rotax world. They're constantly improving. And here's my philosophy. If we're not doing things outside the norm and having the courage and the ingenuity and using your brain power to further things, then we're just not furthering. If we're stuck on 1940s technology, which the Lycoming, the Continentals, and all the current aircraft engines are, that's really where we're stuck. And there's not, I mean, there's some injection, there's flow balance and porting and things that we're doing that are based on, technologies adopting from the racing industry and other things like that. I have still a Lycoming based engine in my aircraft, and I have not gone to the automotive, but I'm super excited about the things that are going on right now, like the Yamaha Apex motor right now. I'm watching closely my friend over at Project Kit Fox and what he's doing. I'm constantly talking to Steve Henry about what he's doing. By the way, Steve just released a really awesome video. You should check out Steve Henry's channel. Check it out. Just released it a few minutes before I started the live feed. It's and I got about halfway through it, and then I wanted to do the live feed. So pretty awesome. So I'm all for it. I'm not sold as to their reliability 100% yet, but unless we go out and push the envelope's not going to get pushed. And so I'm all for the high revving engines. My gosh, they sound like race cars. They're so awesome. I'm all for it. My son is just hilarious. Thanks for the content. Keep up the flying and the filming. Stay safe. Wash my hands. Cheers from Atlanta. Cheers, my friend. My little brother lives here in Wasilla. Oh, cool. Sister lives in Wasilla. Oh, there's a lot of people in Wasilla. It sounds like a wonderful place. I've been to Wasilla. I hope to stay there while I'm up there. So, yeah, the Titan guys making the half scale. I think it's a half scale Mustang. They're doing a lot with the V8 motor. It's basically a derivative. What is it based off of? It almost sounds like a Ranger to me, but it's an automotive. I don't know what it is, but I think it's a V8. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks for the super chat. I sure appreciate it. Take coronavirus seriously. Should we be shutting down or not? It's up to you. My thought is I'm going flying. You guys have a great day. Take care. I'm going to end this now. Oh, let's put on some super sweet, silky closing music. I get all my music on artlist.io. There's a link in the comments below, or the description. Let's put on a song. Here we go. From my laptop. Play me out, boys. So dumb. Play me out, boys.